The Dragon and His Grandmother, from the Yellow Fairy Book. There once was a great war, and the king had a great many soldiers, but he gave them so little pay that they could not live upon it. Then three of them took counsel together and determined to desert. One of them said to the others, "If we are caught, we will be hanged on the gallows. How shall we set about it?" And the other said, "Do you see that large cornfield over there? If we were to hide ourselves in that, no one could find us. The army cannot come into it, and tomorrow it is time to march on." They crept into the corn, but the army did not march on, but remained encamped close around them. They sat for 2 days and 2 nights in the corn, and grew so hungry that they nearly died. But if they were to venture out, it was certain death. At last they said, "What is the use of our deserting? We must perish here miserably." Whilst they were speaking, a fiery dragon came flying through the air, and it hovered near them, and asked why they were hidden there. They answered, "We are 3 soldiers and have deserted because our pay is so small. Now, if we remain here, we shall die of hunger, but if we move out, we shall be strung up on the gallows." "If you'll serve me for 3 years," said the dragon, "I will lead you through the midst of the army so that no one shall catch you." "We have no choice, we must take your offer," they said. Then the dragon seized them in his claws and took them through the air over the army, and set them down on the earth a long way from it. He gave them a little whip, saying, "Whip and lash with this, and as much money as you want will jump out before you. You can then live as great lords, keep horses, and drive about in carriages. But after 7 years, you are mine." Then he put a book before them, which he made all 3 of them sign. "I will give you a riddle," he said. "If you guess it, you shall be free and out of my power." The dragon then flew away, and they journeyed on with their little whip. They had as much money as they wanted, wore grand clothes, and made their way into the world. Wherever they went, they lived in merrymaking and splendor, drove about with horses and carriages, and ate and drank, but did nothing wrong. The time passed away quickly, and when the 7 years were nearly ended, 2 of them grew terribly anxious and frightened. But the third made light of it, saying, "Don't be afraid, brothers. I wasn't born yesterday. I will guess the riddle." Then they went into a field and sat down, and the 2 pulled long faces. An old woman passed by them and asked them what they were up to and why they were so sad. "Alas, what have you to do with it? You cannot help us."
"Who knows?" she answered. "Only confide your trouble in me."
Then they told her that they had become the servants of the dragon for 7 years, but how he had given them money was plentiful with blackberries. But as they had signed their names, they were his, and thus, when the 7 years passed, they could solve a riddle. The old woman said,
"If you would help yourselves, one of you must go into the wood, and there he will come upon a tumble-down building of rocks, which looks like a little house. He must go in, and there he will find help."
The 2 melancholy ones thought, "That won't save us," and they remained where they were. But the third and merry one jumped up and went into the house until he went into the wood until he found the rock hut. In the hut sat a very old woman, who was the dragon's grandmother. She asked him how he came and what his business was there. He told her all that happened, and because she was pleased with him, she took compassion on him and said she would help him. She lifted up a large stone which lay over the cellar, saying,
Hide yourself there when you hear all that is spoken in this room. Only sit still and do not stir. When the dragon comes, I will ask him what the riddle is, for he tells me everything. Then listen carefully what he answers.
At midnight, the dragon flew in and asked for his supper. Its grandmother laid the table and brought out food and drink till he was satisfied, and they ate and drank together. Then, in the course of the conversation, she asked him what he had done in the day, and how many souls he had conquered. I haven't had much luck today, he said, but I have a tight hold on 3 soldiers.
Indeed, 3 soldiers, she said, who cannot escape you.
They are mine, answered the dragon scornfully, for I shall only give them one riddle which they will never be able to guess.
What sort of riddle is it?
She asked. I will tell you this. In the North Sea lies a dead sea cat. That shall be their roast meat. And the rib of a whale, that shall be their silver spoon. And the hollow foot of a dead horse, that will be their wine glass. When the dragon had gone to bed, his old grandmother pulled up the stone and let out the soldier.
Did you pay attention to everything?
Yes, he replied. I know enough, and I cannot help myself, but thank you. And then he went by another way through the window secretly, and in haste to get back to his comrades. When he told them how the dragon had been outwitted by his grandmother, and how he had heard from his own lips the answer to the riddle, then they were delighted and in high spirits, and took out their whip and cracked so much money that it came jumping from the ground. When the 7 years had quite gone, the fiend came back with his book, and pointing at the signatures, said, I will take you underground with me. You shall have a meal there. If you can tell me what you get for your roast, your meat, and your meal, you shall be set free. Then the first soldier said, In the North Sea lies a dead sea cat. That shall be our roast meat. The dragon was annoyed, and hummed and hawed a great deal. Then he asked the second, But what will be your spoon? The rib of a great whale will be our spoon. The dragon made a face and growled again 3 times. And said to the third, Do you know what your wine glass shall be? An old horse's shoe shall be our wine glass. Then the dragon flew away with a loud shriek and had no more power over them. But the 3 soldiers took the little whip, whipped as much money as they wanted, lived happily to the end of their lives.